And
What's
we're
up,
recording.
Ray?
We're live. Sorry, what?
Hey, Rob.
Hey, hey.
Hey, you guys stepped me off my intro. Now we're recording. And I have an imperfect intro. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Anyway, it's fine. We're live. We're recording. Two people that I was talking to today, I was doing some one-on-one mentoring topic. Anybody want to guess? Video on purpose. And I was telling them, it's okay. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. If you stumble up and trip up, just laugh it off and redirect. And they were both like, oh, really? I can? Yes. We're just real. So anyway, welcome everybody to Hangout with Mentors. If this is your first time here, a super double high five, welcome. We meet every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hang out with mentors, different topic all the time. And I'm going to quickly go over, I made a list, I don't know if you can see, just of the recent topics, and it's really cool. And tonight has something to do with every single topic over the last 8 weeks, and I'm going to talk about that. So that's a little bit of housekeeping there. I'm Susan. I forgot to say that, very important. I absolutely love when people jump out on the panel and comments, engage with us. That's what this is all about. That's a whole part of the greater conversation, right? So this is one of our live events, conversations throughout the week that we don't really get into the comp plan or what we're doing here in that way. It's about sharing value, showing off our amazing community, and just really giving you an example of just like a sneak peek of what we have to offer on the other side. So make sure that if you are watching and you're not a part of our community, make sure that you get back with the person that invited you and ask how you can get started. If you are a part of our community and you've been kind of on the sidelines and not speaking up, I encourage you to get speaking up. That's how, when you get involved in the conversation, rather than just being a listener, you'll get a lot more out of it. Your business will, and your results will definitely show for that. And Super T is going to maybe touch on that, right? She steps out more and more, and her confidence, and it's just amazing the value that every person that speaks up gives and gets from themselves. Joe often says, the story that you tell is the story that happens, right? And that goes with your inside conversation and your outside conversation. The story that you tell yourself or others is the story that's going to happen. So engage. It's all about engaging. And some amazing things have happened right here in this platform. People have jumped out and spoke up for the first time, came on video for the first time, aha moments. And that's the whole concept about it, is just being present and opening ourselves up out of generosity to offer our individual value. We each have different values and different strengths, and it's all a part of a conversation. So tonight's topic is conversation. And it's a passion topic of mine because I think way too often it's taken for granted. The power of the conversation. So many amazing, mighty things happen because of a conversation. For example, the Unstoppable Alliance. This grand community all started with one conversation that led to another one that led to another one. It can only happen because of conversations. And that's just one little example. And so there's things that we can do to make a conversation dynamic, to make a conversation effective. Just like storytelling, right? If someone isn't listening to the story, it's not going anywhere. If someone isn't telling the story well. So what are the things that make good conversation? It's not just the words. It's respecting the person that's speaking enough to listen. And really listen, actively listen. Shut the noise off within your thoughts and your mind, and not pay attention to anything else that's going on, and listen to what's happening. And then there's the unspoken part of conversation. There's the eye contact, the intonations, the energy that you put in, the expressions on your face, that it's all a part of dynamic communication. It's really powerful. It's not just amongst us, right? If you're talking to someone who's interested in maybe joining your business or having a conversation with them, if you're not really listening to their concerns or their questions, they're maybe not going to feel that respect in return. You're not going to engage in that. You're not going to open up that conversation. You might not develop that know, like, and trust. And then it might go a different direction. Yet, if you master the art of communication, it's going to open a lot of doors for you. So I kind of just like spread a whole bunch of webs out there for you. And I'm excited to hear what everyone has to add to that topic. But before we go there, I want to give you this list and just kind of think of the flow of all these topics. So one of our topics recently was voices from the community. So we heard from there was 25 people on the panel at once. And then we heard Once Upon a Time, and that was the story of how the Alliance came to be. There was compelling stories the week before that. We talked about why align. Why is it so important to align with like-minded people, people who want the same thing as you, etc. Before that, we talked about daily method of operation. We did some behind the scenes of what went down in Chicago. Just a few things we shared in there. That was fun. Keep it simple. Some direct sales truth. Are you kidding? Like, who shares this stuff? Who shares this stuff? So if you're wondering if you should be here, you should be here every week. Every week, it's just packed. Sometimes one week, we went way over an hour. Actually, wasn't that last week when there was 25 people?
I think so, yeah.
Freedom, focus, what to focus on. People succeed despite adversity. There was some really powerful stories shared that night. All of this happens because of conversation. That's why I'm taking a minute to share this with you. Unstoppable starts with believing. I remember that night. And the value of an alliance. Those are just a few of them. I'm feeling really extra grateful tonight. So thank you for listening to that list. Thank you for showing up. And thank you all you panelists. I couldn't have this conversation by myself. So thank you for showing up. Is anybody jumping in their seat to start? Come on out, Rob.
Sure, I'm never bashful to start. Although actually I do like to go second or third usually because I'm not the smartest guy in the room. There's always a smarter person than me, and I can always just say, yeah, what that person said, especially if you're in here with Joe. That guy knows everything. So, briefly, I'll just kind of jump out there briefly, is when I was a kid, my father, who's passed away now, he'd be about 100. He knew a lot of stuff, and he would talk your ear off. He talked more than anybody, pretty much more than anybody I've ever met in my life, actually. There's a few people that are pretty dangerous when I talk to them. Belinda, she's pretty dangerous. I don't know if she's on here right now, but God almighty, if I get on the phone with her, it's an hour and a half just because we go back and forth. But for me, conversation is something I really enjoy. I have this very innate desire. It's one of my core principles. Actually, after I've kind of done a little work and mapped out what's important to me, what's very important to me is to understand. So if you're telling me a story, I interrupt you a bunch because I want to know all the details. I guess, my wife tells me I'm kind of female in that respect because most guys are like, get to it. I want to actually know the details so I can paint a picture. And when I'm actually conveying information, I also like to know that I'm being understood. So I'll go into details and things like that. But conversation is no fun if it's not two-sided. And so I have to really try to gauge myself because just something that I'm personally working on is I always feel like I've got so much information I want to give. I'm so excited to like share and stuff or things like that, and to know that what I'm saying, that's where I'm at. And my mother, who is she's 94, she's super incredible. She's got a boyfriend. She drives. She lives by herself. She's just fantastic. She's the most inspiring person I've ever met in my life. She told me one time that conversation, I'll share this with everybody to be very transparent, because, one of my challenges is I think even to this day, I talk too much, and I'm a chatty person. I don't know what to say. And she told me conversation, this is the best thing from a 94-year-old. She said, you got to understand, conversation is like playing ball with somebody. So this is from a 94-year-old. She said, it's like playing ball. And she said, it's not any fun to play ball with somebody that doesn't ever give you the ball. You can't hold the ball all the time. So that sticks in my mind all the time when I'm talking to somebody, and we're going back and forth. I want to try to be quiet and then to ask a question or give them a chance to take the ball back. So if you're like me, if you are chatty, or maybe let's just make it really plain, you talk too much, you talk too much, then you really got to actually just pause yourself and say, am I giving the ball to the other person? Because when I play ball with somebody, I want to know that they're enjoying it as much as I do. And I don't want to just be the guy that's a ball hog all the time. So those are some of the things that come up for me. Of course, a format like this is great because I can just talk. And but hopefully there's a nugget that I actually put out there that's something that can actually help somebody move you forward. And if not, just know that obviously everybody's trying to work on stuff as we go along here. So that's the first thing that pops up in my mind right now is make sure that when you're playing ball that you share the ball.
Thank you, Rob. And that is so important. Listening is just as important or more important than doing the talking. I'm guilty of often, I really do enjoy listening to other people, but I'll listen and I'll keep on listening. And unless I'm just really compelled to speak up, I won't even interrupt. I'll just listen.
Well, you and I
so
should
if
talk.
I'm not given the space.
We should talk together a lot more then. We get along really well.
Well, we did have one conversation on the phone that I thought was going to be 2 minutes, and
there you go. Okay.
So it's awesome. Thank you. Awesome share. As always, you share lots of value here, Rob. Thanks for coming out. Frank, Tony, Ray, are you guys going to arm wrestle for the next turn?
No, I'll go.
All right.
And that's only because Rob went first, and so now, he's broken the ice, and that's great. Thank you, sir. But, really, he was talking about being chatty, and I always feel that I'm chatty, overly chatty. And, it happened this morning when I was on the show, listening to Joe. I love talking to Joe in the morning. It actually feels like I'm at the table talking to Joe. And so I forget that I'm on this call and we're supposed to only be on it for so many minutes. And when he started talking about, his dad, and got me to thinking about my dad, and, then I really got off of the subject that I wanted to be on. And like Rob said, now, at this stage we can talk, but that's just the part of Wednesday night that I really love. That's not my main point. Is what you were saying, Susan, about what we actually get from conversation. And I want to say that conversation is dangerous, people. It leads to things, stuff happens. Your mind expands, you learn things, you actually receive a lot from the people that you listen to. And you never know what occurs after that. Having conversations with a lot of people here and the people that I have connected through the Alliance with has opened up so many different doors that I never thought would happen. I was stuck on third shifts in the dark and didn't know what was going on in the rest of the world. And this is such an experience. So yeah, conversation. and listening, and even speaking with the people that I call to try, to tell about the business. Listening to them and their stories make me realize how important this is, because every story that I hear really reinforces the reason why I'm here, and me knowing that there are other people out there that need exactly what I have. And that makes me woo-woo, Joe. It does. It gets me all misty-eyed and gets me going. So, that was starting me as chatting again, but that's it. That's basically it. That's what gets me going. The conversation, the value and the quality of it with everybody that I come in contact with here and on the Leeds phone. Some amazing people. I've heard some great stories.
Awesome.
And I'm learning things.
Every day, every conversation, we can learn things, right?
Yes, every single one.
And I mean, this platform is just so powerful for that, because we're all present. We can see not just like one other person on the video, but everybody's expressions. I think it was last week, Joe was mentioning that everybody looked like one of those bobble dogs, because everybody was just so like agreeing and so into it that we're just like waiting for the next story, right?
It's cool.
Talk about cool. Okay, Ray, are you next?
Me or Frank? I know my voiceover, Frank, or I'm his voiceover. I don't know who's when we get on the phone. I'm Frank, or Frank's me. One of the ways we go.
Well, I
But anyway.
forgot Frank only once. I'll never forget Frank again.
Right.
So don't worry about.
How can we forget Frank? Frank's a man. But I'll go real quick. I just want to say something about, I was a very shy person growing up, and there was times where I wanted to talk about things, and I did talk about things, and then I would get hit with, you talk too much, and being the chatty Cathy or something like that. You get nailed, and you say, but I wanted to know things. I wanted to know why. I wanted to know details, just like Rob would say. That's the way I was. I just grew up that way. I don't think anybody else I knew was that way. I guess that made me different. So, but one of the things is that I've learned about communication is that it's something magical happens. And whether you don't like that word or you like it, something happens. You cannot deny it. When you connect with somebody on a level of energy to energy, I mean, you know that person. You seem like you know that person. And I'm sure that everybody here, somebody's listening, you've talked to somebody, you say, man, I felt like I've known you forever. Have you ever had that? Right? I think we all had that experience at some point in time. Man, I feel like I've known you forever. And I've met people like that in my life. Susan, I feel like I've known you forever. Tony, I feel like I know you forever. When we connected, when you came over to Chicago and had that, there's just something there. But one of the things I learned in conversation and being open to connect with people was that judgment melts away. You might start looking at somebody in a certain way and you think, they're kind of different. But once you have a conversation, you have a connection with that person, something changes. You stop seeing what you might look like or perceive. All those things kind of melt away. And then all of a sudden what happens, you start really seeing the person for who they are, who they're being. And that really changed my life in understanding conversations, being in creative and in the moment conversations with people, and knowing how to connect better and being a better listener. Listening, one thing about speaking is listening. I mean, that's the greatest skill to learn about speaking. If anybody wants to be a better speaker, all you got to do is be a greater listener, and you will learn to speak very well. And I've heard that over and over again. That doesn't come from me. I didn't make it up, and I can brag about it because I didn't create none of it. And then one of the other things that change, like I said, your perceptions start to change. And Dwayne Dyer, your perceptions start to evolve. It seems that you start to grow as a person. Wayne Dyer says when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at start to change. And so with these physical eyes that we start talking to people and seeing them for what they look like, how they're dressed, what they're wearing, and we're you know, filtering out all these things about them. But when you start to talk to them and connect on that level of conversation, rich conversation, who they are, and you're sharing who you are, I think what really starts to change is your dynamic of how you reach out and touch the world. So that's what I believe about conversation.
Powerful. Thank you, Ray.
That's all I have.
Thank you very much. And conversation doesn't always have to be an exchange of words either. Growing up as a very young girl, since ever I can remember, I would stay up late and a Western movie would be on the TV and I'd be sitting on the floor beside the couch and my dad would be talking and talking. He would tell me story after story and I just loved listening to him. And then we would just be. And still to this day, it confuses my mama. She'll say, well, you guys aren't even visiting. We are, actually. We sit beside each other and it's just different. It's just how we communicate. We just be. And she'll come in and she's talking away because that's her thing, right? And my dad will say, you know, we're heading back home soon and I just kind of want to visit with Sue. And she says, well, you guys aren't visiting. Like, she's still confused. No, we are, really. This is how we be. So anyway, sometimes it's about meeting someone where they're at too, right? Over to you, Frank. What's on your mind?
Okay, great. You know, conversation is really powerful in what you say and how you present yourself. And one of the things that I learned years ago was what I call breaking ice. And I practice that, like when I'm at a gas station. Let's say Joe pulls up there right next to me, and I notice he has a fairly nice truck and stuff. I'm going to break the ice and begin to communicate with him, and just relate to people. So many people have this barrier across where it's almost like you're at a grocery store or something that you're not supposed to talk to people or whatever. But do this. Practice breaking ice with people and begin a conversation. Because there's so much wealth in people that are out there and and how they present themselves. Not necessarily money, but wisdom and knowledge that you can gain from people. And one of the things on Joe's call, I forget if it was this week or a few days ago, was the power of just using this when you're talking to people. And you don't always have to try to sell or convince people. One of the things that I do when I'm talking with people is that I'll just let them know who I am, where I live, and this is what I'm doing. You know, I'm not trying to sell or close you on what I have, but what I will do is, you know, this is what I'm doing and it's working well, and you can, you know, these are the people that I'd like you to touch base with. And it's so powerful about the circle of influence of friends and people that you hang around with, because you are, like Susan, you are who the people that you hang around with. Mm-hmm. And like tonight, the World Series is going on as we're doing this recording right now. I would rather be here with Ray and Joe, and Super T and Rob and yourself, rather than watching a game that will just fade. And that's because we're helping each other. We encourage each other. We learn in wisdom, you know, from each other. And one of my good friends, Rob and stuff, he teaches me a lot about life, how he conducts his family and what we do in life. But this device right here can change your life in relating to people on how you present yourself. And you can make a living with this right here. And you could do extremely well. And you don't have to go to a job 40, 50, 60 hours a week like a lot of us did in our corporate jobs in our past. But this is what we do. And we connect people and learn to break ice with people just by commenting or, you know, saying with people. You don't have to, you know, always feel like you're pitching them and such, but just show them who you are and what your heart is, because you can touch people's lives and just by breaking ice with people. So that's what I had for tonight.
I love that point. I love that point. Don't you agree that sometimes, or maybe more, majority of the time, a gentle invite to some value is more effective than a pitch? Yes. A solid pitch, but a gentle invite, it's pretty powerful. I also just want to touch, before I forget this, some really powerful methods of communication should not be undermined, like the eye contact, whether you're one bump into a stranger or the first time you meet somebody. Eye contact is powerful. That's a form of communication. Reaching out to shake hands, is that a lost art? Or the
yes.
hug greeting?
Yeah, it is.
Lost art? It's communication.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really powerful. And another simple little thing that I think more people should keep on doing. There's so many texts, so much digital, and hence that's our motto, right? Is humanizing digital marketing, humanizing the digital realm. On Facebook, even in text message, it takes 1 second to press that different button on your phone and send a voice greeting instead. It takes the same amount of time. In fact, it's easier than this little typing, right?
Right.
People are always shocked. Get a new connection on Facebook, and I'll almost always send them a voice message. Hi, I thought I'd stop in and say hi. Just accepted your friend request. How's it going? And they'll come back. How do you do that?
You know, Susan, just what you're saying about that, people read a text the way they may be feeling that day. So they may take you totally wrong in the way that you meant it when you texted it.
Right.
Right.
You know? Yeah. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like earlier today, I believe, Joe, I was telling Joe I was so grumpy I felt like biting off the head of a porcupine. And if I would have typed that to somebody that didn't know me, they would have thought, man, she's vicious. I'm laughing while I'm saying it. I really was grumpy, but that's my grump. Anyway, my son tells me my grumpy sucks. But Joe knows me, so I knew that was okay. And I think he was laughing. I don't know. We'll let Tim tell that. But you are exactly right. Good point. I have a few hands up. So shall I let them in before it's over to you, Joe?
Sure, whatever you want to do. It's your call. You know me. I just sit here, just enjoying.
We're gonna let in the master chef, Kenny, and he is Dr. B.
He better bring snacks.
Kenny's in the house. Dr. B in the house.
What's for dinner, Kenny?
Okay, there we go.
Okay, we should be good.
Just a little baked chicken, some broccoli, and some macaroni and cheese.
Yum!
Come on now.
Well, welcome. Thanks again for coming out. What do you have to say about communication, Kenny? And by the way, you are an excellent communicator.
Yep.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. I really do. I don't know. Communicating is so important. I just do it. I taught it to my kids. So when they go on interviews, they already know they got the job because they got to go through this interview with this individual. So Dad, I got the job. I'm going to have this job, no problem. Okay, I know. See, the thing about communicating is being able to listen to whoever you're talking to and being able to relate to them. But if you don't listen, then you don't know what to relate to. So you kind of miss that main part that, takes over a sale, or just you getting to know that individual for a later sale, or just to know that person, period. So communicating is so big. I learned it from my grandmother. She's 92. She's owned her own traveling agency as long as I've been living. So this woman is a very good listener. She's always been good on communication. So I get it from her too. So it's really big, people, just to listen to people. That's the main part. Listen, and then, everything else is magical.
I was muted. Sorry about that. Very, very powerful and exactly true, Kenny. Dr. B, welcome. You're muted. Do you want me to unmute you? Oh, you're good.
Okay, good.
Hey, Dr. B.
Hey, Super T, Eddie, Joe, Ray, Frank.
Hey, Dr. B.
Hey, how you doing? These hangouts are really helping me because I've been like an introvert in terms of conversation. I wasn't really big on talking to folks. As a dentist, I have a captured audience when they sit in my chair. They have to listen. Okay? You know, open your mouth, do this, do that. And I tell jokes, whether they're good or not, they listen to me. So this is helping me talk to people. Okay? I appreciate you guys so much. You're bringing me out of my shell. And I'm growing as a person. So thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you. You always bring value to the table as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Carol, welcome.
Hi, aloha. I'm in Hawaii. I just wanted to show you what I'm looking at. So
awesome.
Part of the team. And this is Waikiki.
I'm jealous.
You see the sun.
Yeah.
It's 24 hours a day.
Please stop showing us. I'm jealous.
It's nice to be connected with you. So the one thing I want to share is that I'm a newbie at this, and I'm a little frustrated because I joined because I need time freedom, and I want everyone to know, if I invited anyone or other guests, that this is about time and freedom. And I would love you to speak about that, because communication, of course, is key, and also I consider this to be a training, not just in communication but in success. And I'm really a little frustrated with the business because it's taking a long time for me to get set up. I forget passwords because I have so many different links to do this whole thing together. And I truly believe in it. And I invited about 20 people to the call. So could you add maybe possibly a little bit more about the company? So that's part of our communication. And also my true belief is breath is key, eyes are key, connection and heart are key. And also knowing what we're talking about. So I'd love you to add 2 seconds or a little bit of a preview to so people know what our vehicle is for our success.
Well, absolutely. And I had just finished reading through your questions and suggestions and requests. And we do have multiple presentations throughout the week specifically on TITEM. Tonight it's all about training. It's a really good platform for everyone to see exactly what the community is all about and the value and the kind of people that we're working with. So that's what tonight is about. Joe, what do you have to add to that, please?
Well, I have plenty to add, and I'm watching Carol's camera right now, and I feel like I'm on either a roller coaster or a
I figured while listening, we should also enjoy the scenery.
Well, thank you, Carol. We really appreciate you bringing us into the lush gardens of Hawaii.
Well,
and I love your whatever that is on your head. Those flowers are aloha. I love that. But here's what I'm thinking about. Okay, the lively art of conversation. You know, Rob, I was making notes, and Rob, on my notes for you, I'll be talking about this tomorrow. The fact that your mother is, I think you said 94. She drives a car and she has a boyfriend, which is like, how cool is that? Now, there's a topic. There's an icebreaker for me when I'm talking to anybody.
And she drinks a scotch every single night while she watches Jeopardy.
I am so going to be like her when I'm 94.
We went out to lunch and she had a beer. Come on.
Is she into dating younger men? You know what I'm thinking? You know what I mean?
Her boyfriend is 97 and he drives too. They both drive cars. Now, they don't drive drunk, but they both drive.
I'm thinking, is it a May-December thing? Was she interested in a much younger man? You know, because I might be on the dating scene here. But here's what I'm thinking, okay? Last year, there was a TV commercial. I'm pretty sure it was AT&T here in our market here in Arizona. And it was a very cool commercial. And what it was for Christmas time, they showed all of these people putting their cell phones in a gift box and then presenting the box to, you know, their friend, to their parent, to their sibling. And what they said is, they said, this year for Christmas, give yourself the present of presents, right? Just pay attention. And when it comes to this art of conversation, I think what it really boils down to is being present in the moment. You know, I, for one, like you, Rob, like many of you guys here, Kenny, I know who you guys are. I talk too much. My cupcake has way too much frosting on it. You know, and what I've got to do, one of my disciplines is to just shut up and listen and really be present and curious. You know, there was another show, speaking of our mothers, Rob, growing up in Chicago, I remember my mom, Saturday nights, she used to watch this TV show. It was by, he was a columnist for the Chicago Tribune. His name was Irv Kupcinet. And he had a TV show on Saturday nights. It was called The Lively Art of Conversation. And it would go on for hours and hours and hours. And it was just streaming conversations between people. And I was doing some research on this guy. And they say that the key to his ability to have these conversations was curiosity. He was genuinely interested in what his guests had to say and had to share. And I think in our world here, especially and Carol, you're talking about some marketing tools here. You know, I mean, we've heard about conversation. When you're talking about conversation with potential business partners, which is really a skill set that every single one of us must cultivate. Here in the Unstoppable Alliance, this is humanizing the digital realm. That means having conversations with people who might consider joining you in business. And you know, when they do, the paydays are big. You know that there's a $22,000 payday here, Carol. $22,000 on one transaction. What if you were only to do 6 a year? Every other month, you have one $22,000 transaction. Okay, and those things happen. They happen all the time, but only if you're taking the action, doing the thing, and connecting with people, really having conversations that are authentic. And you know, for me, as a guy who's a big blabbermouth, it's tough. I've got to reel myself in, man. And when I'm connecting with somebody, what I do is I be present. And when I say be present, I mean no Skype, no text, no answering the door, no nothing. And sometimes I sit here today, I will share with you guys as I'm sitting here today, when we're having a conversation about conversation, it's interesting to see that we have these powerful leaders who know their stuff, sharing their insight, and at the same time over here, there are people just having conversations with each other via chat. I'm like, pay attention. Give yourself the presence of presence. You know, pay attention to what's being spoken right here, right now, because this is of such great value. So for me, you know, to actually, there's a couple other things that I would throw in here, you know, from my own experience is curiosity. People love their own, everyone's favorite word is their own name. So if I'm engaging in conversations with people, I want to know what their name is, and I include their name in the conversation. And I want to know, Susan, so tell me a little bit more about yourself. And then Susan will tell me about herself. And as she's going along and telling me her story, I will make mental notes and I'll go back and say, so, you know, so you told me about that pair of shoes that you had, or Susan, I remember you told me about the fly swatters, Could you bring, and all of a sudden now Susan lights up because she's, whoa, this person really is interested in me. And here in our Unstoppable Alliance, if we're going to have this big influence, and I'll tell you, man, I would much rather have a $22,000 enrollment than a $2,000 enrollment, okay? And when you really get to understand this, Carol, you're going to know that it takes the exact same amount of time and energy, money, resources to make that $2,000 sale as the $22,000 sale. And you can book that. That is a fact. It says, who are you being? How much attention are you paying? How present are you in the moment? And this idea of really being authentic with your conversations is a learned skill. Okay, I really believe that it's something that you have to develop. There's a couple other things that I would throw in here. Read more. Okay, read more. You know, put more information. I am like, I don't know if it's fair to say that I'm a pop culture junkie, but I spend hours and hours and hours absorbing miscellaneous information. And I hang with people and friends, and they'll say something, and I can always throw a tidbit into the discussion. Pretty much, you know, pretty much I can. And people go, man, how do you know all this stuff? Where does this stuff come from? Well, it comes from being interested in people, being interested in culture, and listening. Carol, you okay there? I'm a little worried about Carol down here. It looks like tsunami coming through. Just kidding, Carol. I love you, but you know, like here's one. Remember Triumph, the insulting comic dog? I kid, Carol. I kid. I jest. Who knows that guy, right? I'll throw that into a conversation every once in a while with people. But I guess I could go on and on here, Susan. Really, thank you for inviting me here. But I think the real key to conversation is being present, listening, making the person on the other side of the telephone, on the other side of the coffee table, on the other side of Skype, really make that individual your priority. And then conversation just kind of evolves, right? If you're really interested in people and the person on the other side of the conversation, things will evolve. You will find common ground, things that you can share. And before you know it, a conversation can turn into a friendship. A conversation can turn into something that really is magic. And, you know, again, I could go on and on, Susan, if you let me, but, you know, I think you guys get it. You know, say less to more people. Be more interested than interesting, right? That's something that I have been aware of, right? I want to be more interested in you, Rob, than interesting, and be sharing with you all of this stuff and all this miscellaneous shit that's in my brain, right? But those things are resources that come in handy, right? Where we can just throw a little conversational piece and it expands the conversation. You demonstrate your curiosity and that you really care about people. And that's the goal of every single conversation. And it's no BS, you know, it's not selling. It's just really being interested. Because you know what, Susan, I'll close with this. We here in the Unstoppable Alliance have a unique opportunity in so much as that we are really humanizing the digital realm. We are really about people who care, about people who trust, about people who give, about people who, that's what we are. And so that is like unique. And so that authenticity, that ability to just reveal who you are. You know, I think it was you, Ray. I got my notes here talking about, you know, just be the person that you are. Where's my Ray notes here? Judgment melts away, okay? You stop seeing preconceived notions about people when you just engage, and the same holds true. If you're willing to be authentic in your true self, like today, Susan was so grumpy that she wanted to bite the head off of a porcupine. And then I shared with her back that, you know what? The porcupine already doesn't have a head because I chewed it off because that's how grumpy I am. And so now we've got some real exchange going. It's like, you know, it's okay. It's okay to be grumpy and to be frustrated. And so now we found some common ground. And from there is where you build real trust, real authenticity. And then, and for you, Carol, it's all about, you want to know how to make the money? It's for real, man. You just got to be real, show up every single day and take the action in a real sense. Know something like you're talking here this evening about show me the sales. Well, I believe that this is some of the best sales training, you know, that I have gotten in a long time. I make notes. Here they are. I've got pages and pages of notes just from this conversation here today. So be a better listener, right? That's all there is to it. Be a better listener. Be curious. And then learn to shut up. So here's what I'm going to do. Like, remember Dr. Evil talking to his son? Zip it.
Zip it.
So right now I am zipping it.
I love it. I love that. And isn't that a part of a quote? Was it Wayne Dyer or Bob Proctor about the value of being putting more energy into being interested rather than being interesting? Mm-hmm. And you'll connect with people more. I do think the number one marketing skill is communication. If we can learn how to communicate effectively, it just lays it all out there. Know, like, and trust is why people are going to spend $22,000 with us, right? And how do we build know, like, and trust? By having a conversation and by listening to them. I love all the points that each one of you made. And Joe, thank you for making those points. The name. Find out somebody's name and repeat it. People feel so comfortable when you say their name. They know that you are talking to them. And that's probably the most valuable gift that you can give somebody, is making them important right now in that moment. So yeah, Carol, this is powerful training, because if we can learn how to have these dynamic, valuable conversations, we build relationships. Like, for example, those of us on the panel, we've become family. Our whole community is. And why? It's because we have an ongoing rolling from day to day to day. It starts at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday to Friday, with Joe. He starts off the day, and the conversation just keeps on going. And I feel like we're in a constant conversation, and it's amazing. It's really amazing, and it's powerful. So thank you once again, every one of you on the panel. I got all these warm fuzzies. What about you? Does everybody feel just?
That's the porcupine head trying to get out.
Oh yeah, it's trying to get out. And by the way, I had the pleasure of spending 3 days in person with Joe, and he does listen because one-on-one, I do get really chatty. I'm pretty shy still, and I try to not talk too much on this platform, but one-on-one, I chatted a bit, right, Joe?
Oh, yeah.
And you
I had to wait for my moment. I had to wait for when the moment arose. I had to come in there because
I'm like, oh, wait.
It was a really good exchange. I was happy to have you here, Susan. It was wonderful.
I'm coming back.
I'm looking forward to your return.
I am. Okay, so thank you everyone that came, and if you're watching the recording, the instructions are still the same. Get back with the person that invited you if you're not already a part of the community. And if you are a part of the community, your presence and your engagement is important to us, and you need to engage as well. Don't sit on the sidelines. Come out and join in on the conversation. Make sure that you share it. Do invite people. As Carol said, she invited about 20 people. Welcome everyone that was invited, especially everyone that Carol invited. This community has training all the time. We have chat groups. We have the Skype chat 24/7, 365. Even on Christmas Day, if you have a question. No one does that.
We do.
Yes.
We do that.
One of a kind. We're on an uncommon path, and it's so crazy awesome. And that's it. We should. We don't have the page up, but there's details. Do we have an event? Are we?
We'll have details very, very soon. Like within 24 hours, I'm thinking we'll have something up for people to see with their own.
Yes. Exactly, because the details are coming together, and yeah, so watch for that in the next 24 hours. Oh, there's so much happening in the next 24 hours. My eyes are going cross-eyed. Anyway, watch, you guys, pay attention. And thank you again.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Now y'all can go watch that ball game.
I taped it.
Score! Joe, what's the score?
I don't know.
Cardinals are not playing. Cardinals are not playing.
I have no idea.
Life, man. It's life.
I know.
It's baseball.